think we're ready to start. Thank you for your patience. As we just waited for a few more people to arrive. There is a number of people to arrive as well, but we will make a start because I appreciate we do need to get back to business afterwards, I'm sure. So just a quick introduction. My name is Chris Bradford. I'm Director from Computerworld Learning Performance. Great to see so many new faces in here as well as some existing customers as well, so thank you very much for making the journey. I'm not going to say too much, you'll be glad to know, but I just wanted to take you through a few initial slides. First of all, the agenda. Now obviously the times have slipped on a little bit, they tend to do so. So just to run through what we've got in store for this morning. Tom May from the Institute of Leadership and Management. Tom, if you want to hold up your hands, there's Tom. Tom, we're going to be looking at future trends in leadership and management and the growing importance of communication. Then network coffee break, chance for us to, for yourselves really, to chat amongst yourselves. You all face, I'm sure, the same sort of challenges on a day-to-day basis, so there's a chance to network and have some coffee, and please eat the dishes, that would be helpful, thank you. 11 o'clock, so we've just quarter past 11 now really. Tony Glass, Tony, Vice President from commercial side at Skillsoft, Leadership in Action and the Mobile Factor. Then we're going to move on to our very own Stuart Ford and Alex Indeed from our key strategic partner Nimble, looking at efficient communication through rapid content authoring solutions. And then Q&A and a buffet lunch with the opportunity to speak to any of the experts as well. We've also got some showcase laptops set up as well, so if there's anything that you would like we talk about you'd like to have a little bit extra look at, then we'll be delighted to show you as well. A bit of housekeeping to start with. Fire alarms and exits. So if the alarm goes off, then it's all down the main stairs that you came up, please. If that is blocked, then in the corner of the room there is a door with the green light above, and then that's the one to use, please. Facilities, ladies and gents, again, as you came in, by the stairs, by the lift, on every floor the facilities are in the same place. It's an interactive session, absolutely. We'd love to hear from you today, and as I said before, the challenges that we all face on a day-to-day basis. So if there's anything that you'd like to share with us or a question, then yes, absolutely, please stick up your hand and we'd love to share that. Just a few more introductions for you. From the left, on the left-hand side is my team, first of all. So Simon Lambourne, I think Simon might be just outside the room at the moment, he's my delivery manager. Kate Gager? Kate, where are you, Kate? Oh, there's Simon, yeah, he pops around the corner, sorry, Kate. Kate is our I&M consultant, so she does all the hard work with our delegates and on the coaching side as well. Stuart Ford, who I've mentioned. Chris James is one of our account managers as well. There he is, poking his head around the corner, thank you, Chris. Greg as well, Greg sat in the back of the room. And David Merrifield, the man in the corner with the camera, is our marketing manager. Tom, we've talked about. Marcus as well. I think Marcus is not feeling too great today, but he's from I&M. Tony, we've talked to. Andrew was our key channel partner, works very hard with us. He's a consumer manager from Skillsoft. I've always mentioned Alex. Where's Alex? There's Alex, sorry, Alex, from Nimble, and Dee as well at the back from Nimble, so we'd love to speak to you a bit later. Interact with us today. Yes, feel free to add any comments or questions via Twitter using the hashtag CWSeminar. We've got a Twitter wall out on the side in the coffee area as well, so we'd love to hear from you. If you've got any questions, please post them on there and we'll pick that up and talk that through as well after each session. So, for a lot of you, I appreciate you're probably wondering who Computerworld Learning Performance are. So just a very quick resume on that. We're one of the longest established learning performance solution organisations in the UK, with over 27 years experience. I've been with the company now over 10 years. A few more grey hairs and for my liking. And really it's to help clients achieve and maintain their potential through increased productivity and greater financial savings. That's our mission, if you like. One thing I feel very passionate about with my business and with my staff is really the consultative approach. Really listening to our customers and bringing together with that some professional accreditations and top-level strategic partnerships, and that's who we've got in the room today from Skillsoft, ILM and Nimble. We're an ILM approved centre. We've been offering bespoke programs since 2013, but now we're launching our public courses, and this today was really to celebrate as well our launching of our public courses. We've got 43 plus staff with dedicated teams in specific areas. So we're all about bespoke consultancy and training. First of all, looking at the different mediums of training. We're all very familiar with these nowadays, with instructor-led virtual classroom, e-learning videos and e-books. Particularly looking at professional skills training, just to pick a few of those: ILM management and leadership, executive coaching, and also psychometric testing. With our support of Skillsoft, we provide over 9,000 plus e-learning titles, and we can showcase some of those a little bit later on. Bespoke e-learning development and software consultancy, and we also have a range of IT technical and IT applications training courses as well. And other consultancy services, which is really interesting stuff that we get involved in, is the training needs analysis and competency alignment as well. Don't just take our word for it. Some customers here, some of you in the room today, from Bristol and further around the UK as well. So some really good names there that we've built trust with over the 10 years I've been with the organisation, over 27 years as well. Right, that's all I'm saying. So you're pleased to know. So before I hand you over to Tom, is there any quick questions at all from the room before we start? Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. I'll hand you over to Tom.
Right, ready? I will attempt to, if I just shout at you rather than using the microphone. Is that better? Worse? Good? Excellent, we'll go with that. Okay, good morning, my name's Tom May. I currently run the research programme at ILM. How many of you have heard of ILM? So most. Okay, for the few that haven't, Institute of Leadership and Management, we are part of the City and Guilds Group, who you probably have heard of if you haven't heard of ILM. We are a professional body, and we're also an awarding organisation as well, so we will award accredited qualifications. Each year we have over 90,000 learners, and in terms of membership we've got somewhere over 25,000 professional members as well. And we've got a fairly simple aim in life, which is basically make all managers and leaders awesome and the world a better place. So, obviously, work in progress on that one, as you can imagine. I've got some slides, but I'll make these available at the end, because I've got an exercise for you all to partake in. For those of you that enjoy role play, I'm afraid it isn't role play. For those of you that don't enjoy role play, I've got some good news. Everything we do in terms of research we like to make freely available. So it's on the ILM website, and there's a URL at the end, and I can show you where I've drawn everything from. And I've also got a few of these as well. Please do take these away. Because obviously I'll be disappointed if I have to stick these all on the train back to London this afternoon. I would feel I will have failed, at least to a certain extent. So we're going to go through some things. We're going to have a bit of activity and then see what you think compares to what we found more generally. And then we'll have time for discussion and questions at the end. If you've got any questions as we go through for clarification, please just shout. Does that sound okay? Good. I have a tendency to talk rapidly, so if you just hear a sort of stream of squeaking at the back, just wave or shout and I'll try and slow down a bit. Okay, happy? That's good, because we've only just started. My key message really is that Effective communication skills, yes, they've always been important, they've always mattered, but I would argue that if anything, they matter now more than ever. And you can't just rely or kind of encourage that to happen. You need to do something actively to develop, particularly your managers and your leaders, to ensure that happens better. Okay? There we go. Right. So, I'm going to pull out some evidence from the research that we've done that the world is changing, and how it's changing now, and how we think it might change very slightly longer term. So sort of 4 to 5, 7 years or so, so approaching 2020. And because of that, effective communication is increasingly important. So your managers and leaders, I would argue, need training. Now obviously I'm going to say that because I'm from an organisation that offers training and qualifications, or at least training through our partners. But going through the evidence, hopefully you'll see at the end that I think my argument stacks up. And my logical basis, going through everything, is that if you can communicate more effectively, the people you work with and your teams will be more engaged. Now admittedly, it's not a sufficient condition, but I'd argue that it's necessary, and your organisation will be more successful. Okay? So that's the gist of what I'm going through. Nothing revolutionary there, I don't think, but we'll follow it through nonetheless. Now, unfortunately, I do have a bit of a face for radio, so I thought rather than try some interpretive dance or something similar, we will go for this. If I can make it play. If I plug it in. Always sound, isn't it? Okay, that'll teach me to do a video. You've been saved from Kanye West, by the way. This is Marina Schifrin. She used to work for a content company. Doesn't anymore, as you can imagine. And she was kind of getting fed up about just churning out stuff, about trying to get hits for the content that she was doing. So, as you can see, now the irony of this is, on her original alone on YouTube, that's had 18.25 million views. So, yeah, you know, that's done reasonably well. Now, obviously she's ambitious, you know, she wants to do other things, probably go into writing and stand-up comedy, I think. So arguably she would have moved on anyway, but kind of wonder, well, you know, maybe with a little bit more engagement, a bit more communication, what might have been done. And obviously someone who seems to be fairly talented has walked out the door. Now maybe never mind, you can get someone in potentially, but you kind of wonder what their organisation's lost as a result of that. They did do a responding video, which was quite good and did quite well, but as you can imagine, it's not quite had 18.25 million hits. So there we go. So, looking at the world now, it seems to be that life's getting a little bit happier, the economy's picking up slightly. It's no longer completely a buyer's market in terms of recruiting. I don't know how many of you get the Recruitment and Recruitment Employers Confederation with KPMG. They do a monthly digest. The one last month saw that the vacancy rate was the highest as it has been for 16 years, and they reckon that permanent staff salaries were increasing. That said though, data out from the ONS yesterday has seen that whilst inflation's gone up, actually wages have gone up minimally. So obviously money's going up for some people, but all shall not have prizes. But there's indications that actually attracting and recruiting talent, that's now back on the agenda. Okay, so that's now starting to come back through again. And you may or may not have seen that, and you can argue about whether my perception here is right, because obviously you guys are experiencing this rather than just me looking at the data and listening to people. Also, millennials or Gen Y, so those typically born after 1980. So the oldest millennials now are 34. They are now starting to come into management. In fact, the latest research that I've been working on, looking at trust, out of a data set of about 1700 people, about 500 of those are millennials, which I was surprised by because they're just all managers. So they are now starting to come in. But interestingly, graduates, and this is some research we did with Asridge, I think in 2011 from memory, they've got different expectations, realistic or unrealistic. You can argue that, but we found that 56% of graduates expected to be in a management role within 3 years of starting. Yeah. And they want a slightly different relationship with their manager. They want their manager to be somewhat of a mentor, to help them develop, because they want to progress, rather than just being sort of perhaps more directive in style. Now, longer term, cliched phrases or terms such as globalization and technology, but it is happening, it's there. Cloud computing for a long time seemed all very whatever, but really anybody that uses much Google stuff, anybody with an iPhone, you're using cloud computing already. So this is, Dropbox. This is now a reality for many people, at least the majority of rich people anyway in the world. And globalization, we see what we've been used to, Western dominance, power shifting back eastwards again, China ever ascending. I could dribble on about this, but actually Paddy Ashdown has put this much better. And if you have a bit of time, he did a TED talk, which is available on the TED website, which you're nodding. It's very good. It's 17 minutes, but I think it's 17 minutes well spent. And he talks about how this is shifting. And this is the thing, it's not what you can do on your own that matters, it's what you can do with others. Or to put it in a phrase from someone else, there's a guy I've had the pleasure of working with last year called Charles Hampden Turner. He hasn't got a big web presence because he's in his mid-80s and figures that he doesn't need to do too much these days, everything's for interest. He's described on Wikipedia as a management philosopher, which I can only aspire to becoming, but awesome job title. He's best well known for with von Trompenaar's dilemma theory, so the idea that actually every decision is a dilemma to be taken. But he argues that value comes from relationships, not from individuals. So if you can get the best relationships in a team, rather than necessarily the best people, you're going to be going well. And this all boils down to the notion that the paradigm structure of our time is the network. So again, you can see where I'm leading to here. Networks, communication, improve communication, you improve everything else. So, last year we did some research and it's available on the web. It's called 2020 Vision. And we asked, 5 years from now, i.e. 4 years now, what do managers and leaders need to know, do and be if they are to be successful? And we worked through with Charles at the beginning and then with an online community of managers and leaders for a week, which, I don't know if anybody's come across online communities there. They're great for research. It's kind of a halfway house between a focus group and a questionnaire. So I had pharmaceutical director in India, utilities supervisor over in the Western States, a couple of people in finance over in Malaysia, a whole load of people in the UK, and it was great. Could really pull some things out. And then from that we went to a survey of 1,051 managers, and these results and what they said. So just over half agreed that 5 years from now, flexible working is increasing and it is the norm, right? It's the default position. Now, admittedly, not everything's even, and again, we're seeing increasingly that things like flexible working will be offered to those that the organisation wants to keep and really values. Those that perhaps they don't so much may not get these options. And obviously there are some things where you can't work as flexibly as you may like to, but I'd argue that there are really very few things where you can't introduce some element of flexibility, albeit obviously if you're on guard outside Buckingham Palace it's difficult to do that from home, but most other things there's a reasonable amount of flexing. The thing that was recognised most, so you can see 56%, was the importance of working relationships, and they're increasingly important both within teams and with those externally that you're working with, so whether it's customers, stakeholders, etc. And again, it's back to this notion of the network being paradigm structure. And then finally, not such big support for this, it's just under 40%, the core functions, and we'll argue what the core functions are a bit later on, of leadership and management. They're more important and they're also harder to do as well, and we'll look into a bit why that is. I'm sure you could probably guess. Everybody okay so far? Good, okay. Now obviously this isn't all equal, and we're seeing this much more strongly in large organisations, and interestingly enough organisations with shareholders as well, less so in the smaller organisations. You could argue perhaps they've always been like this, or they've been quicker to change. But yeah, we're seeing most change now in the really large organisations particularly. So, core functions. You see a long list there, and we developed these from going through the questionnaire. We also asked everybody if they had anything else to add as well, and we coded those up and then added them into the list. Now these aren't in order of importance, I'll just run through very quickly. So you've got on the left hand side, dealing with conflict, it's effective communication. On the right hand side, EQ, emotional intelligence, motivating your teams, giving effective feedback at the bottom. So you've now sat there with me transmitting at you for a few minutes, so I think it's time to stand up and do a bit of activity. So, unlike the referendum, you all get votes on this one, and you get 6 votes, okay? Try to keep calm. And what I want you to do, you'll see all these, in this order, are listed around this room. So it will be a little bit crowded, but I'm sure you'll get there. I want you to pick your top 3 things on the left-hand side, and you'll see it's labelled on the column, of those things that you think your peers tend to do badly, tend to do most badly, okay? So 3 things that you think your peers tend to do most badly, and then on the right-hand side, the top 3 things that you are prioritising for your own development. Does that make sense? And then we'll top them all up in a few minutes. Happy? Okay, brilliant. Yeah, off we go. Sorry.
Sharing meetings, I'm not going to hear that.
Many obstacles in your way. Of course, we can all top this up at the end and work out whether we can collectively follow simple instructions to see if we've got the right number of votes.
I'll be able to do that.
Couple more people. Don't be shy.
I'll do those. Come on, Sabrina.
Go on then. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you pick up, we'll do things that tend to be done badly by colleagues first. Could you put your hand up if you got more than 20 votes? Okay. That's effective communication. Okay.
Trish, that's just, you've got when you combine both.
No, it's on the left-hand column.
Oh, sorry, no, I haven't.
Okay, 15.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Giving feedback.
Giving feedback.
Exactly 15.
Feedback, 15. Okay.
And exactly 15 on effective communication.
Okay, comms 15. Anybody got 14 on the left-hand column? 13? 12? Listening.
It's 13 years as well.
That's 13.
Monitoring performance.
Okay.
Monitoring performance has got 13.
It's got 13 as well. Okay. Right. So, the top things we think tend to be done badly by our peers are effectively communicating, giving feedback, listening, and monitoring performance. So, if we go over to the right-hand column, anybody got more than 20? 15? Ooh, okay, 14? 13? There we go, okay. 12? 11?
We're already good, aren't we?
Right, stop. 10?
Exactly.
Yeah. Delegating. 9? Coaching. Awesome. So those are our top 3. Thank you very much. We're embarrassing you by giving you a round of applause, but thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at how that compares. So this is from the 1,051 responses that we had from our survey. So you can see on the left-hand side, things we think our peers tend to do badly. On the right-hand side, prioritise your own development, just as we had there. And I'm pleased to say, didn't rig this, that communication comes top. Okay, so that's probably not a great surprise to you.
But can I say something?
Yep.
A lot of the things in the value column are actually, if you ask me what communication is, a lot of these things
Sure.
fit into communication, because communication is the same word.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And one of the methodological weaknesses or challenges are that people have slightly different understandings of slightly different things as well. And for this, we're assuming they've all got pretty much broadly the same understanding. And that's an assessment challenge as well, making sure that everybody is understanding the same thing. But yeah, good point. But we can see that what people understand to be effective communication is number 1. And you can see they go down. I do like the fact that everybody else is bad at dealing with conflict, but I'm really working at improving problem solving for my own development. Can't help wondering if the two are linked somehow. The other thing that I find interesting about this is that, for want of a better phrase, some of the softer skills or sort of less tangible things tend to be slightly lower down the bottom. So consistently demonstrating emotional intelligence is quite low down. I would suggest that where we are now, where a lot of interaction and communication is done remotely, that's even harder to get right. So actually, arguably that should be slightly higher up. And that's one of the reasons why I'm arguing that effective communication is so important, because it's fairly easy, relatively, to do things face to face. You can read the body language, the intonations, and all the rest of it. But if you're just pinging off an instant message or an email blind, you've no idea how that person's going to receive it. You don't know whether they're having a great day or whether they've run over their neighbour's dog, the insurance has lapsed, and all the rest of it. You just know, literally, you're pitching in the dark. So actually, getting that connection and being able to communicate and actually engage with people effectively is really that much harder. Throw in time zones and different cultures as well, and again it gets increasingly difficult. Actually, it's interesting. Anecdotally, my brother-in-law used to work for a large communications company, and they had teams out in India doing things. In the end, they brought all that back to the UK, not because the people in India weren't capable enough, but in the UK they were not able to adequately actually control what they were doing and direct it effectively enough. So it was really a weakness on their communication on their side rather than the capability sitting over with the people over in India. Looking at the rest of the list, feedback, you can see fairly high up, raised on value. Fifth there, we had that sort of joint first. Listening, about halfway. And I can't read my own writing. Managing performance, I think. Monitoring performance. Where is that? 13. Yeah, okay, quite low down. Delegating, quite low down on things for my own development. And coaching, slightly lower down as well. So some differences, but you can see that communication comes right up there. And Kelsey Breeze, but a bit of relief to me because it worked. So, I said that doing the basics or the core functions of leadership and management, including communication, there's less time to do them in, and they're harder as well. And there's less time because you've got competing priorities from everything else. And the quote there sort of picks up the what that means. But everything's getting more complex as well. Certainly in slightly bigger firms, particularly IT stuff as well. So if I want to hire someone, going through the recruitment process, that's a separate portal and login system. Tickets, separate portal and login system. Hotel, separate portal and login system. My HR thing that I have to go through, separate portal and login system. All these systems overlaid. Things are just getting increasingly complex. And actually spending the time to navigate through all that, actually meant doing the basics a little bit harder. But the result at the end, particularly for leadership, I picked this from the online community, and I thought this neatly summarised it. And I think the key thing here is about presence rather than necessarily being present. If you can remotely project your presence, then obviously you're starting to get places, but that's really hard to do, particularly obviously if you're doing it remotely, because, as I say, almost pitching in the dark, getting it right so it feels not trite or superficial on the one hand, or almost getting into micromanaging on the other. It's quite difficult to really get that exactly right. Here's the longer quote from another director, and obviously I'm not going to read through that, but I think you'll probably, I certainly get some of what he's talking about. So you reach the end of that quote and you kind of wonder whether there's any time or capacity to do any kind of leadership and management really. Okay. One thing we do see, and we've seen this across several bits of research, is that managers consistently think they do things better or more often than employees do. Okay? And actually with increasing seniority, not on everything, but generally, the more senior you are, the better you think things are going and things are. So first or frontline managers tend to think that things are better than their reports or employees. Middle managers tend to think things are slightly better generally than first line managers. And you can guess that at senior and board level, they think things are slightly better. So this was research that we did. I've got some copies here actually. This is based on performance management and reward. And you can see that in terms of knowing what to do and how I'm going to be assessed, giving feedback, there we go, it's almost half in terms of employees versus in managers. Coaching support, you can see there's a continued discrepancy. Now, before I hammer this home too much, I should say there is a potential flaw with this coming graph. That the managers we talked to were ILM members, and the employees came from a panel. So employees are not necessarily managed by these managers. Now it's possible that ILM professional members are professional members because they really put a big emphasis on management and leadership, are more motivated and therefore are the better ones. So possibly, in terms of management, we might be skewed slightly towards the better ones, potentially. But I'd argue that the differences there are so great, I think there's still something there, and combined with the other things that we see in the other research that we've done, with increasing optimism and rosiness with seniority, there's definitely something there. Right, the most important skill. A little while ago, we did some research called Talent Pipeline, and we had telephone interviews with 750 people who were responsible for ensuring supply of talent in terms of management and leadership in their organisation. So in really small firms, this could be the chief executive. In really large organisations, this may be a senior HR manager responsible for L&D. So often HR, but not necessarily the HR person or someone in HR in each case. And we asked them to rate the number of support skills and how good those applicants are. So going vertically, going up, that's increasing capability. Going down, decreasing capability of the applicants they see. Going this way, that's more important in terms of skills. Going that way, it's less important. Okay? And as we can see, D is rated the most important. And can we hazard a guess what D is? Okay. Just out of interest, A is technical or functional skills. C, people management and development skills. H is, if I look at my notes, planning and work organisation. So these are for first line or junior managers, okay? So technical, ability, managing people, and communication, and that's both written and oral.
What were F and G?
F and G, F, financial skills, G, strategic skills. Well spotted. Hang on to that for 2 slides' time. So, middle managers, okay? Communication is increasingly important, and you can see that everything has crept up and to the right, okay? So D, no longer the most important, C, being people management and development skills, but compared to being at more junior level, it's increasingly important. And then when we get to the senior level, you can see G's leapt to the front there, okay? Technical skills, way back, not so important when you're really at that top or board level.
Can I just ask what D stands for again?
D is communication, written and oral skills. Okay? So whilst D is no longer the most important, again, in terms of importance and actually capability of applicants, it's crept up even more. Yes?
Have you got some insight on how many people that answered this were HR? Because I think if people in HR have a very different view of what's important than people in the business.
I'd have to have a look. We'll have something. The exact splits. Actually, I can get a rough indicator of the exact split based on the assumption that large organisations would be the HR, someone in HR, and smaller organisations it's more likely that it may not be. So obviously some of those will still be HR people. So I get a rough indication, yes. Okay? And I'll remind you later, I'll dig that out for you. It is in the report. Okay, get towards the end and a very well-earned coffee break in a minute. So, I've argued that the core functions of management leadership matter more, especially communication. So, as I said at the beginning, obviously I'm going to suggest more training and qualifications because that's the business that we're involved in. But I hope I've demonstrated that I think there is a real need there. And even if people are doing okay, with a bit more development and help, they could do awesome, which will obviously improve everything. You cannot over-communicate. Now, see what managers do, they may think it's really obvious, but the things that they're doing for their reports may not be obvious to them. So literally for this, You can't over-communicate, but you know what? Try. And it's really the driving testing of looking in your mirror, so it's obvious to all involved what's happening. So if it's implicitly there, but not that obvious to those individuals, make it more explicit, and that will help. And it gets more important with seniority, as we've just said. If you haven't got some form of talent pipeline, maybe have a look and think about having one. Because we saw that many organisations didn't, and they saw the impacts that it was having on their business, even though they didn't. Right. Okay. So all the reports, we've got them listed there, and they're on the ILM website. If you Google for ILM, probably the first thing that will come up will be Industrial Light and Magic with George Lucas. They're amazing, do some awesome things, but they're a little bit thin in terms of what they cover on leadership and management. You'll probably find just below that the Institute of Leadership and Management. Okay, you can see the URL there as well. So if you type that in, /research, that will take you to our research page, and all these are freely available. Okay, as PDFs. And also, with not all, but some of them, we have longer technical reports, so you can get into some more of the detail. Now, sadly, on the talent pipeline, we haven't done that, but we have done with Beyond the Bonus and some of the other things. I've got here some research that we launched in March, from memory, looking at the changed parental leave and how ready people thought they were for that. Beyond the Bonus, you've already seen a graph from, and then something on flexible working as well. So do please take those, and obviously lots of copies of the slides as well. So you can never go away with too much paperwork from conference. So if you want those, please do take them. Otherwise we'll have to try to recycle or do something imaginative with them. Right, thanks very much for your patience and interest. I've talked long enough. Questions?
Yeah, I've got a question for you. You said you can't over-communicate. What do you do with the manager who just bombards you with emails?
He's not communicating, he's just transmitting, or she is.
That's why I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Or it's the big important thing that just comes in.
But yeah, they're not, communication is properly, it's not just transmission. Absolutely. How you do that, who knows? Yeah. I'm always very tempted to do something that's suggested to me. I've not been brave enough yet. But on holiday, set your out of office with a message saying, and then the appropriate rules. Thank you very much for your message. I am back on such a date. Please note your message has been automatically deleted. If it's important when I return, please get in touch then. That will save a lot. Or, if you think that will antagonise too many people, just send really big attachments so everything bounces off your inbox. Yes?
There's this company in France that it's an IT company that abolished all internal email. They said you're not allowed to send emails to each other anymore. So they have an online chat system. So only external emails to stop exactly what
Yeah.
they were using.
Because you risk just transmitting rather than actually communicating.
Can I just make a point? A really good way to deal with a manager is to lead by example. So if you've got a manager who's emailing you, get up off your chair and then go and speak to them in response. Don't email back. And then they start to get into habit then of not doing it. I've used that in the past and that works quite well. It takes a while.
Absolutely. This is where it's harder if you're based remotely.
Yeah.
But you've still got instant messaging things. And actually, if you can effectively communicate and actually hold a conversation with someone or a group of people, whoever they are, across all the different platforms and media that are available, then you'll have an advantage. We have one example from the online community who works, I think, still in a firm which basically installs cinema kit, specialist cinema kit. So we're installing something for a client. It wasn't working how they wanted it to work. Couldn't get a decent response from the UK contact. So overnight he tracked down the product manager based over the west coast of the States on LinkedIn, and by morning problem solved. So if you can, all the options, you know, from Twitter and all the rest of it. There's so much there. But obviously, you know, you only have the same volume of time, so the thinner you spread yourself, the harder it is. Any other questions, comments, observations?
I think for me, the most thought-provoking element was this concept of presence versus being present, not just from a management and communication point of view, but from an entire culture change perspective. But I think many of us are going through in organisations as we become increasingly mobile, increasingly agile with technology, and what the kind of opportunities are in that thing and how you manage that so that it doesn't happen ad hoc, fragmented, piecemeal, but as something that an organisation owns and embodies as part of its brand almost.
Yeah, and there are some people in organisations that do that quite well. At a physical level, we all know people who are very good at floor walking, and some people who it's painful both for them and the people they're interacting with. Absolutely.
I'm the manager of my team is in one place, and I use floor walking all the time. It's invaluable. It cuts down on my emails, it cuts down on my questions. It also builds an empathy. You know what stuff you're doing, you know how they're feeling. You can pick up from the vibe from that in this email. It just saves so much on communication and time because they talk to you as opposed to just being remote in a corner, an office in a corner. It saves a lot of problems with conflict later on, resolution, because you're dealing with it as it happens rather than waiting for it to turn up. So I'm a big advocate for walking.
You may get people sort of mentioning things, you know, either directly or indirectly, that
You
they
pick
would
it up.
never get over the barrier of sending an email.
So it does work very well.
Anything else? I'm desperate for coffee now. Later, actually. I mean, one thing that possibly can help is coaching. Just put in a little plug. We have our Solid conference, which will be based in Old College at the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst on the 16th of October, and that's on coaching. So if you're interested particularly in coaching, because obviously if you're looking for behaviour change, some things are quite difficult, and that's not necessarily the cheapest, but pretty effective way of doing that. Okay, thank you very much.
I think like that.
Okay, welcome back everybody. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much to Tom. That was a very good session. My name is Stuart Ford. Chris introduced me earlier. I head up the online division at Computerworld Learning and Performance. So I'd like to introduce you to Tony Glass, Vice President of Corporate Sales at Skillsoft. Tony's got a lot of experience in the learning industry, about 25 years I believe, 18 years in senior management roles, so hopefully it's going to shine through his experience in the presentation as well. So Skillsoft are a very important strategic partner of Computerworld Learning and Performance. We've partnered with them for about 12 years now, so really good relationship. We've brought on lots of new customers with the skills on portfolio of products, particularly around leadership and some soft skills as well as IT as well. So very important. Tony's going to run through his presentation, and we've got another presentation by Nimble, another important strategic partner, and I'll introduce you to those a little bit more shortly. But now over to Tony.
Don't think that was quite right. And just to add to Stuart's intro, and thank you, Stuart. I actually started my career in training, in technical training, out at a company in Bradley Stoke, so I do have similar connections. And I guess I was born and live in Wiltshire and drink cider, so I could be claimed to be a West Country boy. So this session this morning, actually much like Tom's, there's some data, then want to talk about some of the skills required. So trying to provide some data, trying to provide some insight, but more importantly, trying to give you some food for thought to take away. So, where do we start? Here's the news. If you want to grow your business, you must grow your people. If you want to grow your business, you must grow your people. Or what about, there's not a skills gap, it's a leadership gap. I actually took those headlines off the web from this week. But actually, you guys don't have to worry, because guess what? Globally, we're spending roughly about £10 billion per annum on leadership development. Actually, Ashridge suggests it's more like 30 billion. And even more good news, it's growing at 40% per annum. So lots of money, and it keeps on coming. Just a couple of other stats to close this bit off. And you won't be surprised by this. You know, large companies spend more than other companies, smaller companies, on leadership development. I think the gap is probably broader than I would have expected, but just there. And then, just to be something specific about our industry, e-learning is 7% of the total, but actually expected to grow to double digits very quickly. And I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. I mean, this data was from Burson, but actually is matched quite closely from a CMI report in the UK last year. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. We have an urgent need for better leaders. I think that none of us would be surprised that 86% of respondents said leadership was either urgent or important to their businesses. And all of the traditional areas are in the top four around retention, engagement. And actually, probably a surprising one is the reskilling of HR. And actually that will become more into focus because, one, in corporations, HR has got to act more like a business. And they've got to respond to the needs of the business, the skills required, and the changing market and generations. So, lots of money being spent, yet it's still a priority. Leadership is still a priority. And here's where the priority actually becomes an issue. And you may have seen some of these stats before. 60% of all companies cite leadership gaps as their top business challenge. And let me step through this. 50% view their mid-level leaders as highly capable, so 50% under the banner. 30% in first-line leaders, and here only 20% of organisations transition leaders well. 75% of respondents say leadership development is an issue and not very effective. And worse, leadership teams fail to deliver, fail to achieve their business goals. So I'm sort of painting a not very good picture here, I realise that. Let me sort of switch to, I think you've all seen this before. This is a typical approach to learning development in corporations. And I think the area that we all very much know is it's resource intensive, costs lots of money, takes lots of staff out of the business, and takes leaders out of the business. So again, you shouldn't be surprised by that. I think the bottom line I would suggest is that this method does not deliver the value or the return on investment that should be expected. And worse, and I really don't know your organisations personally, but in so many leadership development programs, there's no success criteria set, so no way of measurement. Let me show you 2 more slides. If you think that much of the value of any leadership program is actually from the post-event work, so the follow-up, there is a major misalignment. Let me share that with you. 85% of the investment focuses on the event. And you know, we've all been there. Let's make it big, let's make it a great hotel, let's put great food on, let's put the drinks at the bar. We've all done it. And guess what? We've all enjoyed it. But actually the value to the business, the value to the learner, does not deliver in today's world. Another point. Hermann Ebbinghaus. Try saying that. He is a German philosopher, you might have heard of him, born in 1850. Focused his work on memory, but was famous for the forgetting curve, plus a number of other areas of memory. And without context, you lose 50% of what you learn 1 hour after leaving a course and event. 90% in a month. You know, it's a worrying picture. I'm not suggesting that you dump everything you do or you throw the baby with the bathwater, but leadership needs reshaping. So I would say you need to ask yourself in your businesses these questions. Are you truly building better leaders? Are you building enough of them? Are the investments having an impact? Are you developing leaders fast enough to drive organisational performance? I would again suggest, and I don't mind anybody arguing with me, is that it would be a no or a partial no to most of these questions. So let's move on. Oh, I thought I'd put an agenda up, sorry. I know we're 8 slides in, but I thought we better have an agenda. I do want to touch on 21st century leadership. Where do we go from here? And then talk of what I think is the right method of leadership development in the future. And that's to take in leadership from program to a process that's embedded into the workflow of the business, which is clearly important. So, I've actually let you off because Tom got you all up running around. I'm going to do something very similar in terms of the theory behind a whole series of skills or mindsets required. But I'm just going to ask you to shout out. Save you walking around. So the question is, which mindsets below are shared by by all levels of leaders in organisations today? Anybody like to suggest 1, 2, 3, 4? Which mindsets below are shared most by all levels of leaders in organisations today?
You can talk amongst yourselves around the table.
Yeah, you can discuss it, or you can discuss it with me.
Efficiency.
Efficiency. Yeah. I mean, this is, like I say, it sort of overlays what Tom did. So this is the reality of the survey. And you might ask, why can we put these things up there? What's the, what gives Skillsoft the right to say these sorts of things? Well, we have something like 6,000 customers globally. 20 million learners, 20 million active learners. So what that gives us is a lot of data. And this comes from that sort of data. And control, I think we said, yeah, we're taught to control. Managers want to maintain control, maintain and retain control. You know, we've been taught for years the customer comes first. You know, efficiency. I think the market over the last 10 years has driven the need for efficiency and you know, play it safe. Don't put your head above the parapet, or what will happen? So let's switch gears then. Which mindsets below, if shared by all level of leaders, are needed most to enable organisations to meet its goals over the next 3 to 5 years? Someone's very clever here. Who was that? Collaborative. Empowerment. Continuous learning. You've read the slides. I know that.
I have, but I used to care, so don't waste it.
Let me take the pain away. Empowerment. We've got to give people the opportunity to make decisions, take risks. We've got it. Collaboration. You know, it's about harnessing the knowledge in the business. Continuous learning and growth. I think that speaks for itself. We're going to give people the opportunity to learn and to grow. And on everybody's mind is developing our people to support businesses of the future. So, if you look at the skills required by leaders that they have today, they're very different from the skills that they require going forward. And our goal as business leaders is to create the framework, the environment for the employees of business to be successful. It's up to our businesses to create the environment and the framework and the opportunity to be successful. So, where am I going to go with this? 21st century leadership. What does that mean? Great leaders create a culture where people are excited to try new ideas. They push and probe their teams to ensure that no one is satisfied with the status quo. Who has a business like that today? Anybody working in an environment like that?
I try if possible. It's something you try.
No, absolutely.
But it's okay, you try it, but there are obviously strengths around your business that might fit.
Actually, let me just change tack. I'll come back to that. Is anybody a Jack Welch fan in? Does anybody know about Jack Welch? Let me put some context behind Jack Welch. He started at GE in 1961 on 6k pounds per annum. He worked for them for 47 years. When he left, his net worth was estimated to be £500 million. That's not a bad return on investment, is it? So it's fantastic. Yeah, Jack was undoubtedly a great leader, and he built a great team. But it wasn't about personal wealth. He took the value of the business I think he became CEO in 1981, and he took the value of the business from 14 billion, I switched to dollars, when he started. When he left, at his peak in 2004, GE had reached $410 billion market cap. He did a phenomenal job. And whether you like him or loathe him, and loathe him is probably a little bit of a strong word, he did do a fantastic job at GE. And it's an amazing story of tough decisions, because boy did he make some tough decisions in the early days. He actually got rid of 100,000 people in the first couple of years. And making those sorts of decisions is not made easy. But the important thing is that it was underpinned by foresight, passion, commitment and belief. And he ran his team with something called 4 E's and a P. It's pretty well known, but anybody want to tell me what they are? Okay, I'm going to take. There's a lot of shy people in this room, so I know. I'll take the pain away from you all. if you're going to deliver on this concept of pushing, probing, asking questions, creating that environment, you've got to come to work with energy, you've got to come to it with enthusiasm, optimism, because that feeds into the team. It feeds into individuals, it energizes the team. Edge is about making tough decisions and making them quickly. And sometimes you have to go with your gut. Execution speaks for itself, you've got to deliver on your promises, and you've got to be passionate about what you do if you're going to deliver. So, I think the important thing is, what are we going to do if we've got 4 E's and a P, if you believe in this is the way forward, and you then add the skills that we talked about that are required for the next 3 to 5 years. Where do we go in terms of leadership development? Because it's clear what we do today doesn't work well enough. I'm not saying it doesn't work at all, it doesn't work well enough. It's not delivering the return, the success criteria, the return on investment that you require. So I would contend, wouldn't I, if you're going to meet the demands of the market and the breadth of the generations that are coming to the market, learning should be a process that's embedded into the workflow and not an event-driven solution. And the starting point, and you might think I'm mad, is the white space in your diary and your leader's diary and your employee's diary. And what is the white space? It's those gaps in the diary where there's nothing to do. And it may be 5 minutes, it may be half an hour. It's how you utilise that space. And it's up to us in L&D to direct and manage the space, provide opportunities to listen, to learn, to reflect. Development or improvement is not always about courses. It's about brilliant ideas can come from minutes or moments of reflection. Equally, it does not have to focus on the big things. An example of that is slightly off-piste, but an example is the British cycling team, under the guidance of Rob Brailsford, and everybody knows the British cycling team and their successes over the last 10 years. That team focus on the marginal gains, because they know the marginal gains, when added together, is the difference between winning and losing. Expectations are also changing. What was acceptable in terms of training years ago is out of date now, or is for some generations, and I think that's the key. So we've got to build on learning opportunities. We build our learning opportunities into the schedule and the workflow. And what that means is offering different learning modalities on a range of technologies so we deliver at the point of need. So it becomes a combination of not only learning development, but performance support, giving people answers at the time of need. And then it becomes part of, continuous learning becomes part of the process. Let me step on. So, I've talked about white space and you all thought he's mad, and I understand that. But let me give you a couple of ideas about how you deliver learning in white space. 5 at 5. So this is a seriously simple idea of embedding learning into the workflow. And what I'll do now is just play a brief video, and if I don't have sound, this isn't going to work, I can tell you.
Do you aspire to be a better leader today than you were yesterday, but feel like you're running in place because more and more gets put on your plate, and you can't remember the last time you did something to develop yourself? What if we could change that? With a simple and practical process that just takes minutes a day, where at the end of each day, you're more energized, more centered, and more effective than you were the day before. This process I'm describing is what I call 5 at 5, and I'm going to teach it to you now. You must begin the process with this very simple behavioral change technique. Go to your calendar, set a daily recurring meeting at 5 p.m. or 5 at 5. Or set it at 8 a.m. and call it 8 at 8. So we're going to take 5 minutes or say 8 minutes to do two things, to learn and reflect. And we're going to use Outlook as our friend to cue us to do it. So let's first talk about the learning. Read an article online or view a video from Skillsoft's Leadership Development channel or one of our executive book summaries. Imagine each day you get advice and ideas directly from leading business authors and CEOs, the best minds in business and leadership today. The final piece of 5 at 5 is to reflect. Reflection can be the most powerful tool we have to enable our success, and yet it can be the most underutilized. Many successful leaders I've worked with will take deliberate time to think strategically or reflect on what they can do differently. But better yet, take on Marshall Goldsmith's daily question process. The daily question process is about asking yourself, say, 5 to 8 questions each day to help you reach your goals and live your values. Each question is answered with a yes, no, or a number. So let me give you a few examples. Maybe you received feedback that you could do a better job of recognizing others. Therefore, one of your daily questions could be, did I provide positive recognition to an individual on my team today? Yes or no. Maybe you aspire to focus on what people are doing well versus what they struggle with. So your question could be, did I do my best to catch people doing something right today? 1 to 10. This process is so effective because it reminds us every day about what matters most. And for me, one of my daily questions is, did I do my best to engage with my family? A number of months ago, it was early in the morning and we finished breakfast early, and I looked over at my daughter, Vive, who loves to color. And I had a choice in that moment. I could jump on email, or I could take 5 minutes and be with her. And I chose the latter. And I said, Vive, do you want to color a picture with Dad? And I could tell you in that moment, her smile hit the ceiling, and we went into my office and we colored a picture together. So that magical moment I had with my daughter, I can tell you, wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that question in my head. So how many opportunities do we miss at work or at home when we just don't ask the question? So let 5 at 5 become the bridge to your deepest aspirations, and you'll find out quickly how much more energized, centered, and effective you will be.
So, any thoughts on 5 at 5? It is a seriously simple idea. And you may be thinking, well, it's too simple. We've run 5 at 5, actually we trademarked it as well. So you can have 8 and 8, but don't do 1 at 1. We have run this program with a number of companies around the world with fantastic feedback. And surprisingly, and by the way, with senior executives as well, surprisingly, really strong engagement. And what it's given them is, in some ways, this sort of much greater view of their businesses. There's much better sharing. So, although it's seriously simple, it's a great idea. And it's something that I would encourage you all to take. How could you apply it to your own environments? Here's another one. This is for perhaps a broader community. The habit calendar. Actually, very similar ideas in some ways. But if you believe that it takes 21 days to create a habit, it takes a lot less to break it, obviously, as we all know. The important thing about the habit calendar is embedding short, relevant content into Outlook, into your calendars, for 21 days. It's that simple, but it's there at the point of need. It's there because it's relevant to you. And again, we've run the habit calendar with a number of companies with, again, great results. And this isn't trademarked, so again, it's easy to do. It's just some little tips and techniques to help embed learning into the flow. Another idea, which I haven't got on the slides, is take the learning and development team, the talent team in your organisations, and just say, okay, what if we stopped doing courses and events? I'm in the business, so I clearly don't want you to stop entirely, but it's all about an exercise. What if you stopped running events, stopped running courses? How you still had to deliver the same development, the same learning to the business? What would you do? And those sorts of workshops, workouts, really foster some great ideas. So I'd encourage you to think about how you do that. Now, this is another Jack Welch principles that I want to share with you. And I'm going to play a couple of minutes of Jack Welch, hopefully.
You know, I talk a lot about voice and dignity when I'm talking about these subjects. What I mean by that is you want to get every voice in your organization coming at you with ideas. You don't want just their hands. You want their brains. And so giving voice says anybody's idea counts, not the number of stripes on your shoulder. Just the quality of your ideas. And we want them all the time. We want them from the mailroom to the office down the hall from the CEO. And we want everybody to feel they can find a better way every day. And if you get that feeling of finding a better way every day and give voice to an organization, every person in the room has got a better way of doing something. And if you get them coming to work every day thinking, how do I improve, how do I do it better? And their voice is then rewarded with compensation, with parties, with other things for great ideas. You then have a dynamic organization where ideas are constantly bubbling up. As far as dignity is concerned, the dignity is you never embarrass people. You never publicly reprimand. You never put people down in groups of people. And you have a trust that's built with them. For example, when you let somebody go, they know you'll do it daily. That's what dignity is. Dignity is all about treating the individual the way you'd like to be treated. And never forgetting it. Never losing your cool. Don't you ever jump up at a meeting and yell at somebody in front of 5 peers that are in the room. You can't do that. But you can bring them down the hall the next day and have a chat with them on that night. That's what dignity is all about. Don't ever humiliate anybody on the team, because you lose not that person, but you lose all the others. Yeah.
So again, every brain in the game. Extend the opportunity to grow beyond the elite, beyond the few, to the masses. And to do that, if we're going to extend and create, build, grow a learning culture, what we've got to do is release employees from their shackles. I'm just going to talk a little bit about why a learning culture in a business is important. Actually, I've been around, as Stuart said, I've been in the business for 25 years. And I think to this day, teams, businesses, HR departments have tried to dodge accountability for facilitating or owning a learning culture because it's too hard to define or too nebulous. The reality is, and this is the key, that organisations with a strong learning culture outperform other businesses by up to 3x. Outperform other businesses by up to 3x. And let me show you some ways you can measure. And I'm going to read these. Building trust. Actually, that's the degree to which individuals believe that the organisation is working in their best interest. demonstrating learners' value, the degree to which the organisation encourages the value and belief in learning, encouraging reflection, the degree to which the business maximises the learning opportunities provided, enabling knowledge sharing, the degree to which knowledge is easily discovered and freely transferred through the organisation, learning as a process, close to my heart, the degree to which the business provides the formal structures, the resources, the time and opportunities for learning, and empowering employees, the degree to which the individual or organisation will be given explicit authority and freedom to acquire and apply new knowledge and skills. How many of our businesses do that? If businesses don't make conscious efforts to build out those attributes, they will never fulfil their full potential. Everybody's quiet. The more the learning culture matures, the greater the effect on the organisation. But, and a big but, is you have to have the foundation. And the foundation really centres around 4 building blocks. And again, these building blocks, they're not this is not Skillsoft suggesting it, this comes from our customers. This comes from those 6,000 customers globally. And what they say is that the first point, the starting point, is engagement. You've got to have engagement with the business. You've got to know the key stakeholders in the business. You've got to set success criteria very early, because that sets the compass for the business. Strategic alignment. This is an interesting one because strategically aligned learning really should do 3 things. They should either generate revenue, reduce cost, or preferably both. Now, how many HR departments and learning departments deliver on that promise? If you've got your engagement and alignment set up, you really then switch on to adoption. And adoption is really about marketing. It also focuses on, again, 3 things: relevance to the learner, visibility. Ongoing communications is key to any learning program, environment, culture, because if you're not continuing marketing, it becomes the organisation's best kept secret, and that's something you really don't want. And finally, something Tom mentioned, ease of access. If learning is hidden behind the doors of LMS, if it takes multiple clicks to get to, if it's hard to find, the success will not be as great as if you liberate learning and build it into the workflow. And I should have clicked those every time, but I forgot. So apologies. This is actually why it matters. Laurie Bassi, this is based on some work from Laurie Bassi, and she's a world-renowned HR analytics lady. And she built an investment company based on this model. And what she's done is she's built a whole series of predictive indicators, such as, for example, money spent per head on employees. And she's used that to determine if companies are going to be successful. The company she's chosen outperforms the tech market by a long way. So she's doing something right. So certainly worth looking at. And I'll share how to get further detail on Laurie Bassi and the tech market environment later. I'd also like to add Jack Barch to this, because he had a similar view. The most important things in business from this perspective were cash flow, keep the business alive, do the right things for employees, and then do the right things for customers. And it's interesting because when Jack first started, it was customers before employees. But he actually realised, get the employees on your side, the customers are happy. It's a natural flow. So here's why it really matters. Organisations with a learning culture, strong learning culture, significantly outperform their peers. And you know, these stats, there's clearly some variation in the stats, but they do hold true. And I'm not going to go through every one, but I think if you don't realise the benefits in a company at this level, you have to have a long-term commitment to building a learning project. I just want to talk about, just briefly, a case study. And this is an internal SkillsHub case study. Because we recognised as a business that we're not fulfilling our potential in terms of our people. So we set out to, and we call it Leadership in Action. And that follows sort of areas of content shared by Jack Welch. And you'll see in the boxes or the circles the sort of criteria or the key areas that we focused on. There was 150 participants from 10 countries around the world from across the business. So it wasn't focused at one area or two areas. It was a very broad set. This is how we set that up. We created triad teams, although it wasn't always teams of 3. There was the occasional teams of 4 to make it work. They met every 2 weeks and they discussed on a 30-minute call the topic of that 2 weeks. And then they shared the ideas and challenges. And then overall, on a once-a-month basis, there was a group call to discuss best practice, case studies, examples, so you can learn from each other. And talks about the virtual sessions and timescales, and I don't need to go into those, but what I will do is look at measurement success. There was fantastic adoption rate, and in some ways it's about taking our own medicine. Overwhelmingly positive feedback from around the world. We actually revised our company mission statement on the basis of the discussion, which either says we had a really rubbish mission statement before, or actually some great ideas came out of the session. Workout practice introduced, and let me show you what a workout practice is. The way I run team meetings now, and it's back down to this every brain in the game and everything. Me and my managers, we bring our teams together and we create, and it's all about quick workout, and we create a whole series of questions. And with each question, we break them up into teams of 3 or 4 again. With each question, we give the teams 15 minutes to think about this. The important thing is none of the managers or myself are allowed to comment. We are there to take notes. This is about their ideas, not ours. This is about their thinking, not ours. So we don't influence anything other than ask the questions. And we take all that at the end of the session, and there might be a session that lasts a couple of hours and 3 or 4 questions. At the end of the session, we take all those ideas, look at the ones that we can prioritise, the ones we can influence, because often there's ideas we can't influence, of course. Can't give them more money every time. But the important thing is, all of a sudden, they feel like they're part of the business. They feel like they're engaged. They feel like they're influencing, and they're having a say. And that's made a huge difference to our business. So, as I come to the end of the Leadership and Action section, there's some key questions. First quote from Jack Welch: create an environment where getting smarter every day is a way of life. Wouldn't it be great to be in that environment? So ask yourself, does your organisation have a strong learning culture? Does your organisation have a can-do attitude, a positive attitude? Are you a role model? And that's a big question for us all, because how often do we stand up, look in the mirror and reflect on the way we operate? Do you encourage your teams to constantly ask questions? And do you celebrate success? It's interesting that actually in Jack Welch's view you should also celebrate failure, because that encourages people to make decisions and make mistakes, because if you make mistakes you get better, you improve. Any thoughts on that? Anybody like to sort of give me some ideas of where they think their organisation is, or? I've either given you really a lot of food for thought and your mails are full, or you think there's a madman at the estate talking rubbish.
So creating a learning environment when we've got products to make, can't start, obviously, precise targets. These are great ideas for perhaps an environment like that. How would you enable people to have the time without impacting on achieving the target to get this culture in place?
Well, firstly, you could start with the group that aren't. So you know that already.
Yeah.
Do that. And then it's about, I don't know the environment you're in, so I can't say. I'm sure whether it's, say, 15 minutes at lunchtime, because I do take lunch, or it's 15 minutes after work, because actually you'll be surprised if people are engaged, they're prepared to commit time to improving. So it's getting them engaged, and that's the biggest challenge. So, what that is, I don't know in your environment, I can't tell you, but the intent is engagement. How do you get them engaged? And it might be some form of reward for spending 15 minutes at lunch with you. And you might be able to persuade the management to start the machines 15 minutes later, and that might actually impact. I suspected that would be the answer. But the principle is you've got to find the environment for them to believe that if they give you 15 minutes, they're going to get more back.
I'd suggest it's kind of bigger. The engagement kind of leads from the top in terms of a mission statement or purpose of the business, and everybody collaborating together to reach that purpose is what's going to make you better. And you want to learn, you want to get better. NASA did it very well with, our mission is to put man on the moon. That's what we're trying to do. And it doesn't matter if you're sweeping the office afterwards. You are helping the team better than building the machines that will then help with people up there. And for something that's so compelling, it's not easy for everybody to have something that's so compelling, but to have something that everybody can get behind, you kind of find that you're naturally gravitating towards putting that extra effort in because it's making you better at your job to achieve that big goal. And I think that's why
that is an absolute great point. And if you look on 99% of companies' mission statements, they're not measurable, and they're just nice talk. So the art is, to your point, is make a mission statement that the company believes in, it's measurable, and they can see how they can impact that, and they can help to get to the point, the man on the moon.
And obviously it doesn't come straight to the point, but I suggest that everybody, absolutely everybody, if they have objectives, which they probably should do, one of those objectives should involve something around learning. Should be some kind of learning and development objective. Exactly what that is and what it looks like, that will vary, but everybody should have some kind of objective to learn and develop in some way. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a formal qualification, it could be something informal, non-formal, whatever. But absolutely everybody should have some kind of objective to learn and develop.
Well, that's a great idea.
Where it impacts on what guys, money they take home. It really is a challenge as to how you can do that differently, because they obviously see that in their weekly take-home pay packet. I've had 10 minutes of learning, it's impacted me, and that's a cultural, that's a really senior decision to say, right, if we're going to do that, we'll pay them anyway. Yeah.
But then that will, obviously it's not your call to make, but at a senior level, I can't think of a clearer signal your senior people could make to the people on the floor that this matters. And maybe that's a challenge. It's like, well, how important do you really believe this is? Show some firm commitment. Not easy, but
Google do an interesting thing. Exactly that. They want everybody to learn, but they insist that anything they learn is outside of their job role. So it has nothing to do with their day-to-day job role. It has to do something with the company. It's outside of their own specific job role.
When obviously given learning cycle, when I do goal setting, although I bring goals, each one of the team members has to bring a goal for themselves for the year. It tends to be around learning or learning something new. The goal is always the criteria, is learning something new. And most of the time, in what other teams are doing, because it obviously they know what they're doing with other teams. So I tend to get them to set their own goal that's around learning and development, because they've set the goal themselves, there's a certain amount of buying already because they want to learn. But also, the hard part with these things is as us setting goals and so forth, is the impetus and momentum of the rest of the business to actually back them up and keep them going. And that's the hardest part. It's really easy to set the goals for learning and development and so forth, but it's to get the rest of the business to buy into your dream, goal, or whatever, and that's where
I'm a dreamer, sorry. But seriously, that's the advantage of trying to create the habit process, of getting people to do 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it happens to be every day. And if you do that, it starts to grow from within. And there's no doubt that there has to be a commitment from the top and it's fed down. So if that isn't there, you're never going to succeed. But it really should be both ways. And as learning environment, as HR departments, we want to create that environment. Yes.
When you talked about the habit forming of 5 minutes at a time, you said there was a time to resolve that. What were those companies going through at the time? Was it culture change or those leading what they were doing?
I would say a combination. Most organisations are trying to underline it, improve their businesses in one foot. And so this was actually in MWB as one of the companies we went through. And actually their challenge really was, guess what? Communication. A lack of communication at senior level. So what they wanted to do was actually open that up, and that's they introduced 5 at 5. Seriously, the results were outstanding. All of a sudden, you have people talking to people. It's strange, I know, but it's something that never happened beforehand. So a variety of things, and like all of this, you don't just jump in and say, "Oh, we're going to do 5 at 5 for everybody." You don't just jump in and say, "We're going to build a habit calendar for everybody." You take small pilot groups and you start to grow. Small groups, and the sensible way of approach is to find small pilot groups that's going to be successful. So be careful how you select the people that you're going to approach. So that's the way to do it. Build it from within. Get the leaders to buy into it. If you don't get that buy-in, then it's going to be really difficult.
I suggest your key people, depending on the size of the organisation, will probably be from the middle management, because they'll probably be amongst the key influences. If you can get some of those, then you'll start to get everybody else going for it.
I think that's a good point. Middle management, you get senior management and executive management support and drive at the middle management level. Anything else? Okay. Well, we're going to switch tack now, and I volunteered Andrew to do this bit because I've had enough talking.
What I wanted to touch on, it's only 2 or 3 slides here, just to finish off this section, was more about the choice that your end users are demanding, or that you as HR and IT have in the marketplace to look at doing things differently, utilising assets for 5 at 5 or the habit calendar. So in terms of leadership, and Stuart and I work very, very closely around particular organisations that utilise Skillsoft with Computerworld, is about the different choice that you have to implement the process. And Tony's talked a lot about the process, and as he said, he's very passionate about that. So an event in itself is not necessarily the entire process. It could form part of that process, and then the choice of other assets that fit around that are then available to you. So I think that's really what this slide talks about. It's about asset choice for various different levels within the organisation as well. So not all types of mediums are going to be appropriate for all types of people in all types of environments. You touched on workforce, factory workforce. I worked with an organisation many years ago now, and they extended IT equipment to staff outside of work time, so they could take laptops home with them. I mean, nowadays, obviously, everybody has computers in one way, shape, or form, be that a tablet or a laptop, and also extended the content, not just to theirs, but also to their families as well. So it tried to show those individuals that couldn't take even 3 minutes out of their work schedule, that the organisation was supporting them as individuals, but also supporting their wider network as a family as well. So again, that's just an example from many years back with Galahad, I think it was in South Wales. Again, just choice of assets, choice of different types of mediums as well, modalities. And when we look at that, and looking at the mobile factor, there's a lot of talk around mobile, about virtual access to all sorts of different tools, and do that from a holiday booking system to an e-learning intervention. The importance of I come from a generation where computers were a pretty standard part of my last years of education. Now my 4-year-old is very happy playing with his iPad, not that he's allowed all the time, but manages to steal it out of the kitchen at some point. So that generation, it goes even further than perhaps what we've talked about. They don't care what the devices are, they just want content. Be that the games or the videos or the CDs or the virtual instructor training course or the video from Jaguar, whatever it does, it doesn't matter. Their interpretation of devices is going to be irrelevant almost going forward, jumping forward 10 years. Probably quicker than that, to be fair. Also, we do have complexities of device management. A couple of years ago, I was introduced to a concept of BYOD. Has anybody? You bring your own device. So going back to the point about having access to your families and having access outside of work, whatever you deliver needs to be accessible to those individuals on their own iPhones or on their tablets or on their home machines or even on their TVs perhaps. Smart TVs are massively improving in terms of accessibility to content. So think about that mobile factor. Think about when you're delivering programs to give choice to those individuals. And it is a choice, as Tony mentioned. It's not suitable. An iPad is not used necessarily by all generations, and actually that's probably the reverse now, because my mother now has not an iPad, but a tablet device, because it's easier for her to use. So actually that could be very, very appropriate for the generations that perhaps have not accessed content online in the ways that perhaps the middle generation have over the last 5 to 10 years. So just be aware that mobile factor is something that you need to consider in the process, and there are tools and services out there from organisations such as Computerworld and Skillsoft that will enable that to happen in one way, shape or another. It's not an all-encompassing thing, it could be a choice of this type of asset that's appropriate for your audiences. So again, some key questions. I won't read these out. I think probably the majority of these are quite obvious. So I don't know if you've got any questions about mobile. I know it's deemed as a hot topic, has been for the last couple of years. I don't know if you've got any questions around mobile, what we're doing with mobile, perhaps at Skillsoft, or what we're seeing as trends in the markets. I don't know if you have any questions that wrap around that, and obviously Tony will be very happy to answer any of those questions. I don't know if you've got any questions around that? No?
I mean, mobiles it is a hot topic. I'm not sure it's a hot topic for us, but it's certainly a hot topic for the press. And the reality is that it's great in terms of performance support, because that's really where it can deliver. It will never deliver courses. It's just not relevant. And we're seeing in places like Africa where mobile is dominant, as the only way they get access to information, we're seeing a lot better take-up. But generally in Europe, it's fairly low take-up in terms of mobile.
One of the things it helps with. Has everybody heard of flipped classrooms? It's more of a school thing, but the idea being that and this helps because it means it's easier to get access to it. You effectively cover the content in your own time, which means as long as you actually manage to do that, you can go at your own pace. You can go through it as many times as you like, and then you do your homework in classroom time. So when you're actually trying to work through tasks or whatever you've been set, the instructor, teacher, whoever it is actually on hand to help you
and they can work around individual groups. Whereas, the traditional thing where, I had this in maths lessons, probably explains why I only got that B. Going through something new, like, yeah, got that. Oh, lost it. So I got bored, switched off, and then they realised they'd gone 2 more steps on and I was left behind. And you kind of avoid all that. And with more mobile learning, it increases that access. Khan Academies is a classic example.
That reminds me of somebody who was talking about that type of model, not flipping it necessarily, but having online mentors available to students when they're doing their homework, certainly in that sort of GCSE A-level, time level, and having that interaction, face to face on a WebEx or whatever the tools they were using. So again, different tools, different asset and means and methodologies for delivering better quality learning.
Yeah, it works at school age, but in theory there's no reason why it wouldn't work with adults as well. Good point.
Any more questions? No? Okay. Well, thanks, Andrew. And more importantly, thanks to everyone. I do realise that time is a precious commodity, so hopefully you had some food to take away, food for thought to take away, and you found it interesting, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Teddy. Very useful, interesting insights. We're just going to have a couple of minutes coffee break, so if you want to go into the loo, grab the water, coffee, come back for our final presentation, which will be about 30 minutes. Okay, everyone, I think we're going to start. Okay, I think we'll make a start. So on to the last session for this morning. So we've had some really useful insights from ILM and from Skillsoft as well. So one thing we're conscious about is bringing all of that together. We're very much a blended learning company, so it's really working with you as customers to understand the best fit and how your staff are going to learn and take on new knowledge. So is that going to be a company instructor-led, classroom-based event? Is it going to be pure online, or is it going to be a mixture of both? Now, where we've seen learning programs really work well is bringing those programs together. So I think we're going to get rid of classroom or instructor-led training and go completely online, but then vice versa, really. Online learning is a huge part of the learning industry and very important for organisations to consider. It does add flexibility to your learning programmes, and initiatives like 5 at 5, we've got some great assets that people can access during their working week. Now, we've got some laptops set up over there, so perhaps after lunch or before, there's a couple of guys around who can show you those assets and how they work, how they launch. I'll talk to you a little bit more about how that can be integrated into your own learning management systems, or if you don't have one, how we can help you with that as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So the next session really is about a new product launched back in January at the Learning Technology Show with our partner Nimble. It's a brand new product to allow organisations to develop very quickly bespoke e-learning or communication content. So it's taken off a storm. It's been really, really successful so far. Alex is going to come up and present a little bit more about that product. But really it's just kind of putting it into the context of increased communication, effective communication, how do leaders and HR communicate better with their staff, whether that's a new product launch, whether it's one piece of information about some change that's coming up. It's thinking about ways that you can do that, as opposed to just sending perhaps a big email announcement. There's lots of tools like Twitter and blogs and such like when you used to communicate with stuff. The rest of the system is slightly different in terms of making something a little bit more interactive and engaging for your learners there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Alex and Dee from Nimble, and they're going to come up and talk a little bit more about CW LearnPad and its capabilities. Thank you very much.
So I'm Tafe, the marketing manager at Nimble, and this is Dee, with the marketing team. He's been in e-learning for a long time. I won't say how long, but it's been a long time. I haven't. But I was listening to the previous two presentations, which I thought were great, on the phone, and I'd like to steal that idea of everybody getting up and putting something on. I've made my own in terms of just understanding the level of where we want to pitch this conversation. I've been e-learning at the top, and I've got 3 columns: using e-learning, considering e-learning, or not yet. I just wondered if you wouldn't mind just coming up and putting your tab quiet so that I can just see where people are sitting. We can pitch them like that. That's okay. I'll just put it here so that you've got to walk.
I heard something today about communication and
the majority using e-learning already, might go and considering is there as well. So that's fantastic. At least I think you'll be interested in what we have to say, and also probably a little bit more already engaged in e-learning. You can then compare with what you're currently doing with how this works. I should say that for those that are using e-learning, this isn't a product that has to replace what you're currently doing. This could work alongside what you're currently doing. There's a number of different facets to e-learning. There's the whole LMS management side, but then there's also just the course creation. And there's a number of different tools in which you can create courses and put it all on the same learning management system. You may want to use different tools for different things depending on what you want to do. So, let me get to this. Is one other thing that was also picked up on is that everybody will, or half the people, could get this within an hour. And that's when there's given context as well as without context. So I'm going to give some context. Mainly an analogy that Dee and I came here last night and we set up that big screen at the back. And it actually doesn't look nice for us, but it actually was a bit daunting for us because we normally have an exhibition company that do that sort of stuff. We had it in the back of the car, what we did is we set it up, and we didn't really have a clue on how it was going to work. And we were thinking, and when we got here, the guys at the Embassy said, right, we've got 1 hour, we're going to do it, otherwise I was thinking, we're never going to be here early enough to do it tomorrow morning, so we've got to get this done. So we wanted it to be professional, because our business. We wanted it to be very easy, because neither of us had ever done it before, or really had a clue about how we're doing it. And so we were a bit daunted about the idea of doing it, and when we came along and emptied out the boxes and put it up, we were just delighted, because it's a really easy quiz system. They thought about the user in terms of people like us trying to put it up. we bumped it up. It looked keen enough, and became very drinking. Well, thank God for that. And that's how our customers feel about CW Learn Pad stroke real world powers CW Learn Pad. It's something where you have a need. It's clear here that either doing e-learning or you're considering e-learning. We've heard this morning how important it is to be accessible to employees and to drive different messages through, different messages that you can't necessarily buy. It's all this specific to your company, but you need the ability to communicate that in different ways on different formats, tablets, phones, or desktops. But it's kind of the messages, the important things that then need to engagement when we go through. And fortunately we have here to build a tool that will enable you to do that. The whole point of our product was just to make e-learning very, very easy. It's very easy for you the subject matter experts who know what's in their mind and what they'd like to convey, to be able to put it into e-learning format, where all you need to know is your subject matter, and we kind of do the rest. There's basically you don't need any previous technological knowledge, you need any previous e-learning experience. As long as you know what you want to get across, then we'll help you do that. So, first of all, what I was going to say is when we're going along, we go out and we do demonstrations like this, and we speak to very similar people, learning development people, HR people actually in IT who are tasked with the role of doing it. And when we go to the demo, the general reaction we get from the brief similar to the way we understand, and the excitement at the possibilities that they really think the people that they could do, because there's always, everybody's got lots of ideas as to what they'd like to get across and what they'd like to do, and then they always get stuck with needing to look at specific formats or trying to get across. This makes it very easy to do that. So hopefully we're going to get that across. We're going to give you a live demo. We're going to show you how you can build the outlines of the course, and this will hopefully show you that within 20 minutes, it's not going to be any longer than that, you can already thinking, yes, I can do that too. Before we do it, there's always a number of things that is a checklist which heads us to, okay, well, does it work on iPads? Is it? We're just going to go through those in a second. So we wanted to just get that checklist out of the way so that you can kind of relax and look at the demonstration without then thinking about the question you can ask at the end of the presentation. So Dean's just going to take us through this checklist.
So yeah, most of our customers, I speak to customers all the time, they always ask, is it HTML5 compatible? Does it play on an iPad? Yes, it can play on your laptop, on your PC, but also on your tablet, and your smartphone, on your iPhone. It's collaborative, it's on the cloud, so you don't have to download anything. It's software as a service, and you can talk to your teams in different geographical locations and collaborate and exchange messages through the software itself. The software is for now, it supports all browsers. We go back down to IE 7 and Explorer and Firefox and what have you. It's Form 1.2 compliant, so you can talk to other authoring tools and it's compatible with other learning management systems, really, whatever you want to call it. And if you don't have your own, if you don't have an LMS, then we also provide an LMS, and we'll be showing you that in a bit.
Actually, I'm going to ask if there's any other questions on this kind of criteria. Right. So, without further ado, we're going to go live onto the interweb, and we have set up an account. And this is a bit basic, but I'm just going to read you everything here now. This is what you would have if you have an account on CWA. You come on, and this is the learning management system. and then it's split between your courses, it gives you the 2 results. We're going to just take you a bit of a whistle-stop tour through this. To create a new course, we're just going to create a new course. Two really nice big buttons to help. And we thought for the purpose of today, we create a fictional company called Global Cruises. So we create a Global Cruises induction. Put it in, and then literally go down, and we can build and save.
Whoops. Sorry.
It's not a laptop. Okay, there's the OK here. So now we can just go straight into it. And normally kick straight into it. So here you have the standard template, of which you've got your headline, your logo, your background, and everything within here is editable. So you'll start off by kicking it down the bottom, and maybe because it's currently CW, then and of course from CW, then create your own big logo. So we start by putting the logo at the top. You can click this plus button, it'll go straight to your desktop. You can go through your regular files through your computer, all the shared files to the master company. Grab your grab your files. This is how easy it is to go through Stuart's files. Go to the demo resources. So you obviously will have your own logos in the tablet and everything. So you can go straight to it, put on the logo, so now it's instantly as it happens with the same colours, computer helps. But to increase the branding of Global Cruises, you might then put on a background. And it formats it. So you've got a picture, it formats it, puts it onto the system, and then there it is in the background. Now you want to start creating a new course. So you can start adding topics here. Nice big plus button. And maybe we'll have something like introduction, health and safety is the election, and so on. So it's very easy just to start adding new courses as you go through. And again, this is obviously anything that you want to do. It's great for introductions, briefings, set courses, mandatory courses that you may want to create. Go into the summary, so you've got 3 different topics here, the world and the list and what comes out. And then you can go into each of those topics, start adding new pages. And the idea is to talk about speed. So we've got set templates, which you can choose text on the left and an image on the right, so you can choose one with a video, one with multiple choice, and a number of different interactions where you can give you a summary of those. But the main thing is you can grab them, pick out. If you're not set to those, you can choose a blank one, you can go into that template and edit that there. It's just the idea is just to keep it going. Now the thing is, when you are creating this, it's quicker to put it straight into the system than it is to write it out first on your own PowerPoint or your Word document. Because as you're thinking, as you're going and you're seeing how things are forming, it's all very flexible. So you could grab that video page there. You can move it up and down and change the format, or you can put it into health and safety if you wanted to, or actually it's more relevant for them. Or you then think, well, we're perfect, and this suggests that this is actually you just move it around. But it's very quick and easy just to put it in and then evolve it, let it grow organically as you get more information. And you can be asking people, saying, look, I'm creating this course, and as information is coming in, you can start adding it to the lists. So you go to, you now have this general template. There's just a couple of things on the right that I wanted to show, which is within your range of options, you can have things like edit resources. This is where you may have background reading, PDFs, Word documents, references that you have within the course that you don't put in the course that you'll be able to refer to for later reading. You can put that there, you can just basically say what it is, put the link, which will then link to your internal system to go to that document, and then there it is. Same with the glossary. Same with the glossary. Obviously, pretty much every industry has got their own acronyms and specific stuff, but when you're people in the news industry, it's like a whole new Bible to learn. But you can put the Bible in here. So you can put all of those different acronyms down on the side. You explain what they are, we have etc., actual type typing, etc., and this you explain them. But that follows throughout the course. People can keep their acronyms in the pages, and people can just go to that section of forms and then actually find out what they're talking about. And then finally the editor value. This could just be simply a copyright issue, or it might be about the author to say why you do this to build a bit of context. So it's just an information section you can use. So now that you've got something to be sure, just to say, if you happen to not have blue colours in your company, it's also very easy to change the theme so that you can get a whole load of colour ranges. Maybe we'll just change a colour just to show them back to blue. That's okay. Just go green. Changes everything. So just goes okay. Just changes everything instantly to match your colours. So you can also have the specific. You'll have seen when we go back there that these hex codes they're very easy. You can just get a colourful formula brand logo, give you those codes, and then you can put it in so it matches your brand precisely. So now that you've got the overall context of here, we'll come back to assessment in a minute, then you can start going into your pages and putting your content in. So within
text.
We chose copy and image. Now for copy, you can change your header.
Change it to text.
So you can just change it there. But also within your copy, if you've got existing content, normally in PowerPoint, normally in Word, because you can just copy and paste it into here and keep. It's not showing up. This is sensitive. Is that?
It's not showing up.
So you can just copy and paste it, put it in, and then maybe that's a bit wide for you, so you can go to your copy and reformat it. Just drag it down to here, move it around. The thing is this is going to be exactly what your learners will see. So if you however you want to format it, it's exactly what they're going to see. There's no code to the side. There's no second step. This is exactly what you're doing. And the same with pictures. You're going to click into edit. And again, we've got a library of pictures that you can use. They're currently animations for us, which you can see. Because it's easier to create different scenarios to support your the point you're trying to make. Like this guy, you can use watch. Which is it. Or alternatively, you can go on to your just choosing the images and the images those in as well. So you can move them around. He's floating around it, so we could add a background. Just to kind of make it feel a bit more professional. And the idea is that it's engaging, it's professional looking, it looks like you put a hell of a lot of effort into it, but not necessarily. But the benefit of that means you can turn out a lot more content. And you can, the whole thing is about speed, it's about the So you can't see the background. It's too dark, it's too light. Yes.
Not showing up.
We have a beautiful background on there with projectors against us. So then we can move on to the next one, which is where we chose multiple choice. So obviously you're trying to encourage people to learn, pausing for thought and reflecting on what you told them, and just having little challenges along the way is going to really help in terms of now that's going to go back to the channel. So you can create this multiple choice where you can put your question in here. And it's not going to be on the screen, but easily put your question in here. You can say if there's more than one correct answer, if you like. You can select which those correct answers are and put your answers here. And then as you go down the bar on the right, there you can say how many attempts you want to have, and then also give you feedback. That's the important thing to think about. You might say, actually that's not right, this is the answer. And this is all within the learning course, so this isn't the assessment. So then when you have it set up, you can have the question you created, you can a learner will go to put it on there, confirm, and then this is the feedback that you've given. If you're happy to get it right, if you've got it wrong, then the next later if you want to explain what the actual answer is. Again, you can add text here, or you can take it away. If you go on to the next one, video is increasingly desired. I think learners is also more easily accessible. Later content on YouTube, you can link into YouTube video to here and access that. You can actually select it from the point in the video, so you have to put from 3 minutes in from the point to which you want. Or you can have your own file, so you might select from your laptop. This is actually our Mac with us. Load it up. Formats it, puts it in. You can choose whether you want it to stay within the screen or pop up to a wide screen when you click on it. And there it is. Press save and play. And then you've got something that's usable. And again, you can move that around, you can change the screen size. It really is easily manipulated by you to create the size. But also importantly, as you get feedback, you may want to go live, and that's where you're really going to find out how to go down. You can then take that feedback and start changing and amending it. It's just a really organic thing. You have something that's very quickly fit for purpose, and then you can spend more time and budget, if you like, on making it more understand about this. But for something that's going to be simply quick to use, engaging, you try to make it, it's based on sound instructional design, so it's a bit like email stabilizers, but we take options away so that you're coerced into best practice instructional design. Then other options are, if you have a page, on any page you can go into, this is one of our interactions, it takes around from the view. But down at the bottom here, it's easy to see. Yeah, at the bottom here, you have a number of options, from capitalize, exclamation marks, information points, which are then hover overs and you can put around pictures and things. Add audio, add video. And then you'll notice, so this is the information point. So when you hover over there, then your feedback will go there. Now on the, out of these different options, this is more text-based video and audio, these are more interactions, video, text, multiple choice. At the end there is there's a really simple idea, it's one of our most popular features, which is people working on the same course from different locations. You can basically leave each other messages on the pages. It means that if you are working together, you don't have to say that course, that topic, that page, this paragraph, view that on the right. You're basically leaving a note. There's only administrators can see. You can see it can be live, but with learners and they won't see it. And you can just keep each other messages, basically, because it's all cloud-based. You can work together, you don't have to download anything. And it also means that there's very little support that's needed for this, because it's generally so intuitive. But if you do, then it's easy for anybody from Computerworld to jump on and say, okay, let's have a look, and then move on. So it's a very easy option for creating content. And that's generally it. So if you go to here, so you can have created very quickly started content within the topics. The other key thing, of course, is assessment. So there's an integrated assessment here. You can just say, that's what you know. And you may be considering the questions that you've already used in the they've really been paying attention. And instead of giving the feedback, this is, I now okay, do you know it or not, this is how far you've got so far. And you as administrators will be able to create this integrated assessment. But then when at the end of it, you'll be able to provide a branded certificate to all of these parts, to 57 parts. And that certificate will be branded, and as long as you can space for name, last mark, the dates, so it's not a copy. And that's it.
Just going to
yeah, so that's the course. When you then exit out, you're back into the learning management system. Here's the course that we've just been creating. And then at the top here we've got your home students, which you can do in a bulk import CSV file, or individually, that's easy. You might have done it once and then have people who are joining or leaving. And within, there's the enrollments at the top where you allocate. If you've got 10 courses, you might not want everybody on every course, so you might allocate obviously to which courses you have people on. And then the results. You'll have an overview as to how many people started, how far we've got, and start. The idea is to think very simple, because it is easy to use, it will be used, that's the main thing. And also that there's no bottleneck, so it's not one person who's trained on this because it's really quite accessible to everybody. But there's no bottleneck of that person who knows how to do that, you've got to wait for them to create the course. This is where you can really work with subject matter experts, bring them in together, put it into their own different sections, and then build them collaboratively. If I give you an example of within the courses, within the settings section there. This is just an example of the sorts of functionality that you can expect. You can save the course offline, and then you can go out and upload it. You probably wouldn't access it in most places, but it's there for those that want it. An interesting one is history. So every time you publish or save the course that you're creating, particularly important if you're working collaboratively, if people are saving it at times. If you want to revert back to a previous version at some point, if something may change, regulation may change, you may have an old version that actually is now more fit for purpose than the new one. You can do that because we've only made one edit, but you can go to the last 7 edits or saves, and that's a really useful feature that customers like. And then if you just go back to one, another one is saving the script to Word. So although saving the script to Word document, we do actually create one for you if you like. So you can just press that button, put everything that you want to, all the pages, into a Word document. It's just done it in a second. So it's all there. So for those who do want to edit and give feedback to a Word document, they give it back to you. And then finally, the export small package. So many people have the image of a foreign word, but it does mean that you can take these courses and put them onto either your own learning management system or to another learning management system in the future. It also means if you build it in here and use the learning management system here and get fed up with it, or the whole company, not your fault, but the business decides to use something else, then you can export all these courses very easily, just click a button and put them onto the new one. So it's very flexible, not tied into anything. It's people stay with this product because they like it and because they want to. But it's all very flexible to work with into operable formats. That's all we're going to show here. The only last thing we thought you might be interested in is maybe an example of how it's been used. Here's the examples. Right, sorry. So if you go, here's one that we will use for basically enhancing. The flashy clouds, it's a bit more like a Flintstone, but the flashy clouds were created in Flash for bespoke, but everything else on there. So we've already shown how you can add your own images, create the top image, put it through here, but as you go through, you know, it's text as images. There's some movement which can be done. It's flexible to do that. You know, if you want to invest a bit further, because then you can have something that's fit for purpose, which is what, and then invest a little bit more and start creating something a bit more dynamism to it. But it's not essential. It's totally optional. And you can go through each. You can then, especially for the introduction, the history of Hanson, and the images coming up. And this is all. This could be quite useful for the introduction or information. And that's it. It's you can change this for but maybe if you need a bit of time for any questions, because we're all very already using the dictionary and specific context. it can be time consuming working on functions. It's a linking system where you can go to, you can have a word linked to another page, you can click on it and go to the page. Alternatively, it's also very easy to create and to duplicate. And so you've got maybe you might have your core content and put everything in there. And then you may have different versions for different areas where you just duplicate it. So we doing work which is actually deleting areas that aren't supposed for the different groups.
On a similar question, has any research been done about the length of time people like to learn for? We've heard about 5 time. The last time I had a research, it's the best part of an hour. And so we've lost a lot of people. We've lost a lot of people off.
I think a lot of people will try and we've put people who've done 3-hour e-learning courses and people who've done creative 20-minute chunks. We're working with Charles Collegiate for schools and 20 minutes with the aim there. It's our preference would be about 40 minutes in terms of enough content for work to allocate your time to set through and go through there. If you end up with more than 40 minutes, then you've got 2 choices of you can have one course you create your different sections, you might just say different sections, or this goes just say you can easily duplicate the course and just it's 2 it's really you don't have to worry about that when you're creating it because it's quite flexible to then duplicate and learn and mould with the content that you have. And it's the content that takes some time. But it's the content that's so precious and also very specific to every company generally. So this gives you an opportunity to put what's important to you. That's really important.
You can't park it as an individual student and come back to it.
Yeah. Well, as I said, if you're allocated to part 1 and part 2, if you wanted to do it that way, then you will have within your window part 1 and part 2, you can be one person and come back to it centrally. Which reminds me of the access that's continually iterated to make it accessible to people. There's a link that you can also go in over time as you go through the content. You'll know that when it's needed.
You said videos increase meter time.
Yes.
Why?
Technology enables more videos to be watched. So everyone's got bigger capabilities and capacity to, there's no jogging flow. A lot more people are now on the end of their phone, which is then increasing the usage of video. And then it's a lot easier to watch video for people than it is to sit through and read on the speakers. And also I think there's another one where the expectation of video production is reduced. So because people are creating their own videos now, I think people want the passion, the information, the stuff that's important to them. They don't quite so expect. There's a lower expectation now of the surrounding and the polish, which means it can be more accessible. Now, I would say that it's not the be all or end all. I don't think people would sit through just YouTube through a series. But here, you're able to embed relevant points that people can then mix with, the key, the 3 main messages that come out of this video, and then people can watch it. Once a couple this morning, it's just a mix of the media. It's a bit accessible to do that.
So getting a better understanding of how people actually learn.
Yes. And also, obviously, as we were saying about email, you write something right now, it's got a better chance of what you want to convey with the emotion and the passion about it through a video. And particularly things like inductions, CEOs, regular updates, linking into why you're believing is the mission of that company. Very easy now to have the report and put it on the board. A reminder of the key values of our company and why we're doing it, attached to the update of the stats of how the company's doing, for instance.
Do you have any examples where it's being used as a pure communication tool rather than training?
Survey. Use the survey. Survey feature.
Yes, there is. It's kind of we have a sort of a and they have 15,000 staff in all different jobs, and they just want to lift the level of knowledge of all the different promotions that are going on around and speaking to them about how to do that. It's not necessarily a learning thing, but there is like the opportunity to manage the message. So you can still say in the briefing, the work actually important to us as business. This is where we make our most of our money in 4 years. This is what we're focusing on this year in terms of either teams or whatever. And this is how you're part of that. This is what's going to perform good. There's 15,000 of you, and there's actually only 17,000 in your business. So if you don't go back, then the business is not going to succeed at this time. But you can control that level of information, and also put the latest out there, put the latest press things. It's all very visual and very easy to do. Okay, well, Dee and I, and also Stuart, we're going to be on the laptops of the radio. I'd like to use this kind of put in we'll have a pedestal, we'll have our laptops, and if you have specific questions, or what we just showed on the demo, or a specific thing, or choose some of the other features that we haven't had time to go through, then that's what we're here for. So
Brilliant, thank you very much. Just going to say a very quick final word. Just going back to see the iPad. If you go onto our website and see learning performance, there's a link where you can actually sign up free of charge, create an account, and start creating your learning. You can do that on Saturday if you want. So the key thing there is how to play around with it. Get perhaps marketing materials and see if you want to do learning content. There's a free guide as well to that learning course. You to access it, go and have a play with it. Don't need any details or anything up front. In what charge is when you want to start downloading and using that material for admin users to push that out to your organisation. So feel free to have a play with it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I put down a few things I just wanted us to say at the end in terms of thank yous really. I first of all want to thank my team. It's quite a journey to get here. I want to thank my team for the passion and effort they put in to get today running. This can be easily overlooked, but I really wanted to thank them personally as well today. I also want to thank our partners for taking the time, the effort to come down and really show us how passionate they are in their businesses and their messages as well. So thank you very much to our partners for that. And also thank you finally to you guys for taking the time out of your day to come and learn some new information as well. I appreciate that, and obviously we'll hope to see you again, and obviously if there's any other questions as well, then we'd love to hear from you as well. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Lunch is served.